we have different cultures on board. That makes a lot of difference as well when it comes to project management.
I think it's interesting to have people from many different places across the world, like different cultures, definitely, especially when talking about management of any kind, not only project management. We specialize in helping. Oh, very interesting. Jason has an interesting use case.
Yes.
Perfect. So I think what I'm gonna do is I see more and more people coming. I'll just do a very quick 2-minute intro. Probably more people are gonna join by the time I finish the introduction, and then Joseph can start the presentation. So welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We have people from all over the world. Thanks for making it to this session. A few words about the Tesseract Academy. Our mission is to help decision makers understand and implement technology faster, easier, and better. We primarily focus on AI and data science, but we also work with blockchain. And we help companies of all sizes, from startups to big corporates. And we primarily deal with what we call the soft parts of technology, things like data strategy, product management, project management, etc. But we also deal with R&D and implementation. We're a network of experts, many different types of expertise, but all relating with technology, from fundraising to AI ethics to machine learning, which is my own expertise, or blockchain, or to project management, which is what we're going to talk about today. A few words about who I am. I'm the CEO of the Tesseract Academy. You can call me Stelios. I've been in this area for about 10 years, and I've been for around 5 years in the space of blockchain. You can see my personal website is thedatascientist.com. And I've also written a book called The Decision Maker's Handbook to Data Science. You can buy it on Amazon, but I'm also more than happy to share a free copy with you if you just send me an email during or after this session. And here's some of the testimonials, some of the people that we've helped. These are entrepreneurs, but we also work with big organizations ranging from Vodafone all the way to the US Navy. So today, we're very happy to have Dr. Joseph Mallia with us, who is a very experienced project leader. And you know what, actually, I'm not going to say too much because Joseph can speak for himself and it's probably going to make a better intro than I will make. Just to let you know a few things around the logistics, Joseph is going to present us today's topic, and then at the end there's going to be an open Q&A. There's going to be discussion where you can ask any question you want. Feel free to type questions while Joseph is speaking in the chat, and they're all going to be addressed towards the end of that presentation. So that being said, I'm going to mute myself, and now Joseph, the stage is yours. Thank you.
So thanks, Stelios. What is our agenda? We are going to have a chat here, okay? I would like to share some ideas. Just an introduction about myself. I come from, for the last 30 years, I worked in financial industry mainly, business side, even in the IT side, mostly in the development part. So let's say 25 years. I worked on the development side, managing teams, managing different teams, managing different cultures. So that's why when we were introducing ourselves, I said, yes, culture, it's quite an interesting aspect because different people from different cultures sometimes act differently. Okay. When it comes to my studies, mainly I studied in University of Aberdeen, which was quite interesting experience. Quite a bit far. By the way, I am coming from, I think, the smallest island at the center of the Mediterranean Sea, Malta. Okay, not far away from Italy and France, a bit further far from UK. Sometimes we wear several hats in order to be successful. We play an important role, being as project managers, leading projects, but sometimes it's not just the management side. It's the input, it's the way how we participate. Sometimes we think that project management is something innovative, something new, but actually going way, way back. Okay, megalithic temples. In UK, you have the Stonehenge. Okay, locally we have several other similar buildings. Most probably they had some sort of project management during the time. Egyptian pyramids, they had some sort of project management. Maybe we don't know yet how it was done, but for sure it was quite successful. If we go today, if we come to today, are we actually successful that much? Why we aren't that much successful? Okay, we'll have a chat about these kind of things. There is a nice book. It's quite a small book by a psychologist who's called Edward Bono. Had an academy locally in Malta and even in UK and in United States. And mainly he talks about wearing different hats. We as project managers, we are leading people. In order to lead people, we need to appreciate the effort from business side, from stakeholders, from participants, indirect participants. Are we always doing that? Sometimes even myself, I think we are shortfalling in that aspect. So sometimes we need to wear these type of different hats to think from a different perspective. When it comes to project management, we have several approaches. Mainly, we are quite consumed on the traditional and agile way. Okay, agile way, we think that we started officially talking about an agile 25, 30 years ago. But actually, the agile approach was quite long years ago when we had several projects with several parallel processes, tasks running without knowing that we are practicing agile. Okay? During the introduction, Stelianos talked about AI, data science. Can we adopt the traditional way? I think for sure not. Okay, why mainly? Because the traditional way, it's quite conservative. We have several methodologies which support us in the traditional way. For example, in UK, Prince 2. Okay, across Europe, we are having what we call PM squared, which is a lighter version of Prince 2. United States, on the other side, PMBOK, the main famous methodologies. However, having all these certifications, approaches, books written, are we actually progressing, being more successful or not? And this is an important question to ask ourselves, especially those who are project managers or project leaders. When we are motivating our staff, especially for project leaders, okay, project leaders need to motivate project managers. Are we actually motivating our staff to deliver solutions in a better way, being more successful? It's not whether the project is going to be delivered or not, but delivering according to the expectations, quality assurance, in time, AI, okay, big data, all these words, buzzwords, let's call them buzzwords. Actually, it's something which is quite demanding on the industry. We need something to be delivered yesterday rather than today. So how we are going to not say control, but motivate all the stakeholders being on board. Okay, we need to adopt a different approach. We need to adopt an approach which embrace everyone to be on board, and apart from being on board, take ownership of the project. Sometimes stakeholders get detached quite easily, especially when we lack communication. Okay, communication is something very, very much important. So let's keep that communication running all the way, because that communication is going to bring people on board automatically, and they are going to embrace ownership. Once people start to get ownership, they have a baby, and they would like that the baby grows fast in a nice and excellent way. Do projects fail? Yes, quite a lot. Okay, going through some statistics here. I'm not going through all the statistics, but mainly when it comes to investments, more than 12% of the investment, it's wasted. It's not a joke, 12%. You may say it's quite small, but let's go to other figures. Project managers claim that only 50% of the projects achieve what is being expected, what was being promised. So what happens from the other 50%? It's not being delivered, okay, or it's not being delivered as aligned to the expectations. When it comes to goals, 37% of the projects fail because of lack of goals, lack of clear goal. Let's start a project. We are quite happy, enthusiasm over the board, but we don't have a business case. Okay, we don't know where we need to end up. What are the business benefits that we are going to acquire from such a project? I came across some projects. We start a project, and this project is growing, what we call the project creeping. Okay, it's always growing, growing, growing. It's like a mushroom. But actually, we end up without delivering what is being expected. Why? Because we don't actually know what we need to deliver. Sometimes the business, they don't know why. Let's start a project like others. We need to have initiatives within the business in order to look quite productive, quite, let's call it innovative, it needs to be. But actually, we don't know what is the business behind, what is the business value behind what we are going to get. So sometimes we lack the, let's call them the basic skills. Today, I had a particular meeting with a particular business area, and we started having a chat. What do they need? What are the business values that they are looking at? And at some point, I challenged them. You are just talking about what you are actually doing. Your processes are taking you a whole day. Is it actually important that valuable to have 3 people, full-timers, working the whole day when most of the things that we have can be automated? And when we started challenging them, actually, yes, they started, yes, we can do that. But how it's going to be done? The how it's for me. It's not for them. They need to tell me actually what they are doing, the business flow. But how that business flow is going to be implemented, it's up to us, the tech guys, those who are the experts. 70% of the organizations suffer from at least one project failure each year, which is quite high. Only 58% of the organizations understand the value of project management. This I came across several industries within our country, even in other countries. Project management, sometimes it's considered waste of investment. Mainly why? Because the project manager is not going to deliver anything. It's the developer, the data scientist, those who are the people who are going to do the actual work. But going back, who was going to lead them? Who was going to coordinate everything? Who was going to motivate the project stakeholders to deliver? And that is the role of the project manager. Sometimes we forget, we don't take into account, we don't give them as much importance to what is the actual role of the project manager. Something important, the difference between a project manager and a project leader. Project manager needs to deliver work. Project leader needs to motivate project managers, okay? Plus delivering work as well. So sometimes we just get lost into the naming, the roles, but actually we are not knowing exactly what it means. But the role of a project manager is quite important, okay? Project management office in our organizations. Do we have a project management office? Why do we need a project management office actually? Because a project management office can monitor from a holistic approach what is taking place within our organizations. I have been in organizations where a PMO doesn't exist. And what happens? Everyone has his own initiatives, his own strategy, okay, because most of the projects come from a strategy, but actually we don't we are not coordinating as a holistic organization what we are going to achieve. So what happens? Everyone is in a siloed effect, everyone targeting just his own needs. I believe in two important rules. Okay, the first one, failing to plan is planning to fail. If I have a project, I need a project manager. Why? Because the project manager needs to help us to plan ahead, needs to mentor us, needs to control whatsoever. If we are not planning, what does it mean? Most probably, we are already planning to fail that project because we don't have any target dates. We don't have any milestones. The second rule, fail a failed project as early as possible. If your project is failing, fail it. Why? Because it's going to be less expensive if you fail it within the first month rather than failing that project at the 12th month. Someone needs to pay for the resources, for the investment, for whatever is taking place, renting premises, whatsoever. So what's in it to continue trying to put effort in a project which from day one it was already a failure? Projects without a scope, without a perfect aim, without a business case. Sometimes we think that a business case needs to be pages, a booklet whatsoever. Sometimes it's just a one-pager. Okay, and one-pager business case, it's the perfect one. Why? Because you have something, you can print it quite large, put it on your notice board, on one of your walls, and each time you are working on that project, look at that business case. Am I still aligned with this business case? If yes, it means that you are on the right track. If you are misaligned, you need either to align back or otherwise you have something which is totally misaligned between what you are delivering, what the business needs, what you promise that you are going to deliver. Why we need project management? Lately, we have seen a great growth in most of the organizations promoting strategy, promoting innovation. If we have to ask our top level people, what is innovation for you? Is it just changing how it looks, how our organization looks, or innovation is a way how we will be more marketable, have less time to market our products, create more business value, create more opportunities, career progression, that if we have that career progression, we have that business value, we are going to create additional profit. So it means additional investment, more bonuses to our staff. Project management, it's not a magic wand. Okay, something that we need to work for. Sometimes it's hard, especially when you don't have any grounding. Project management, it's about culture. Okay, and I believe greatly that project manager, it's a culture change sometimes, how we do things. Once I took over a group of developers, there were 10 excellent software developers, excellent, really excellent. Unfortunately, there was something missing between them, communication. Everyone was working within his own silo. Okay? They used to talk about football, whatsoever. But when it comes to work, they never had a chat about what they are working on, what they are delivering. And when I took over, I started having an informal chat, having a cup of tea, coffee, okay, no beer allowed at our office for the time being. So we had to go through coffee. And during this informal chat, we started to talk about, but what are you doing? How you do that kind of thing? And others started challenging each other. I am doing it in a different way. So why don't we get all these efforts, these resources together and start standardizing what we are delivering? Okay, so it's a change in culture. It's not a change in what we are doing. They are still doing development, software development, whatsoever, but we are talking about changing. It's quite difficult sometimes because we find resistance. But once you start embarking on change, showing the business value that we are going to create, the opportunities, the benefits, then we start talking in a total different language. Okay, why? Because now we are going to market not just myself, but we are going to market a whole department, the whole team. And once we start working as a team, we are changing the culture, but we are also changing our image. What we are going to deliver, it's going to create more business value. Why? Because at first, everyone was working in a siloed effect, everyone putting effort for something which can be a standard across the board. So we have that standard. What is going to be the benefit? We just make it once and make it reusable. Okay? And once we start improving this way, we start seeing the outcomes coming all over. People are interested in what we are able to deliver. And then we start having the demands. And this happens quite a lot in several businesses. Why certain businesses are full of requests, demands, and others without any request, no interest at all? Because the culture, the bridging, sometimes we need to bridge the gaps. That's why we need several heads sometimes. We need to bridge these gaps. If we are able to bridge these gaps, we are going to bring a lot of business value to our teams, to our organization. We need to promote communication for improvement. Why this particular team was working in a siloed effect? Because there was no communication. Once we start communicating, we don't mention Scrum meetings or whatsoever. That comes afterwards. That comes part of the maturity. But our meetings started over a cup of coffee. Okay? During that cup of coffee, 15 minutes, we started having chats about what we are doing, why we are doing it that way. Can we improve? Yes, no. And we started having brainstorming sessions. Those brainstorming sessions, that way of communication, then it came part and parcel of our daily trend. Let's call it trend. That on a daily basis, we meet together. We have nowadays what we call a Scrum meeting, some call it briefing. And we start talking about what we are doing, what we are planning to do, what were our challenges. And why do we talk about challenges? Because most of the times others from the same team can help us. And instead of spending 1 day effort, 2 days effort, 1 week, it can be solved sometimes in 2 minutes. Okay, so communication when it comes to project management, it's imperative, it's very important. Project managers, they aim to support us in what? In developing business value, innovation. How can we create innovation? By just using buzzwords or look from different perspectives, be able to change ourselves, be able to change other businesses, how they are doing their daily work, their daily effort, introducing new technologies, AI, machine learning, these kind of technologies which are great enablers within every type of industry. But in order to introduce this innovation, we need to develop the business case that supports projects to apply these kind of technologies on board. One of the main challenges that I find even during my daily work, it's not on the development side, on how technically we are going to do things, but mainly on how we are going to think, on how we are going to apply the technologies around us. We are talking about IoT, AI. Okay, it's nice to have, but at what cost? What is the business case that can apply AI? For example, in the financial industry, we are talking about, let's say, exchange rates, getting news from different sources, what is going to be that behavior. Unless we have this kind of thinking, we need a business case to capture data as much as possible and be able to have something as a result. What is the result? Triggering, whether it's a buy, a sell, whatsoever. Unless we have that kind of visibility, we cannot say that we would like to have AI, because how we are going to apply AI, how we are going to apply IoT, machine learning. Okay? So it's important that project managers, businesses needs to align together to develop such business case on how these kind of things can be applied within our projects. Project managers needs to create competitive advantage. And that competitive advantage comes when you have people who are quite knowledgeable, people who are able to communicate, people who are able to drive other areas within the business. So for those who are project managers, we are great drivers as well, okay? Pushing to deliver, pushing to change culture, the way we are doing things, the traditional way, but doing things in a different way. We need not to be afraid when it comes to change. We need to offer something which is marketable. Companies which are within a success, why they are successful? Because they provided something which was marketable. Gmail, everyone heard about Gmail. How did Gmail become quite successful? Were there any other similar projects with products before? Yes, for sure. But when it came Gmail was something which was marketable, a marketable solution, which everyone got curious about it and everyone wanted. So we need to deliver, we need to create something that everyone wants. Otherwise, it's going to be much more difficult to sell it. Don't do it for the sake of being a follower. Okay. Having a group of good developers, you can create a platform, an operating system, whatsoever. But you are just following what Apple had done, Android had done, okay, Bill Gates had done. Why? Because we are following. If we are trying to be innovative, do something which is totally different, think from a different perspective, wear different heads. If I am a user, 60 years old, if I am a user of 15 years old, what do I need? AI, we mentioned a bit AI, but AI is shaking up technical and business consumption. Okay, in what way? AI is something fast. Okay, why are we using AI? Because we need to create competitiveness over our competitors. We need to be at a competitive edge. So which means that I need something as urgent as much as possible. I cannot wait 2 years, 1 year for a project to be delivered. Why? Because it will be out of scope. We need something now. So we still need project management for sure, because we need to plan, we need stakeholders to be on board, but how we are going to be successful? And the success all comes from adopting a different way on how we manage projects. Okay? Way back, we all used to talk about a traditional approach. Give me all your specs from the very beginning, and I will deliver everything at the end of the project. When it comes to AI, we cannot talk about that. Okay, we are progressing. We are trying different algorithms. Once we start developing a particular algorithm and it's working, we need to continue effort directly on that particular algorithm. So we cannot wait a lot. Apart from that, business is becoming more reliable on AI. It's not something that we can wait. Business outside there, they are excited about AI because AI promotes quite interesting business value in itself. So the demand is there. The technologies are there. We need to combine. Okay. We need to be more proactive. Timing. Okay. We need to be faster. But how faster? We need to engage people. We need to engage business areas on board. Not just us, not just the data scientists on one side, but data scientists, those who are working on algorithms, those who are developing. They need to be in conjunction, all of them, with the business, because finally, the business is going to certify that yes, this particular demand meets my expectations. If I deliver something which is not meeting the expectations of the business owner who's going to pay for that project, actually it's going to be a failure on its own. We already talked about it. Deliver yesterday as today, I am outdated. Okay, and when it comes to AI, machine learning, let's just go to a small example. Newspapers. Up to some years ago, we used to buy newspapers printed. Okay. Today, I was still buying the printed material. If I buy a newspaper, it's full of news on what happened yesterday. So it's already outdated. I can know anything on what happened yesterday, just a few minutes ago over the internet. So it's useless to continue printing newspapers. Newspapers can only be printed for marketing purpose, and that's it. But actually, they are not in demand anymore. Project managers and AI needs to better understand each other. And this comes to the cost of communication. Okay? Communication, how we are going to integrate everyone on board, speaking in layman's language, because we need to be understood by all stakeholders. And finally, all that combination creates something which is of great business value to that business. We need to remove segmentation and silos. This can only be removed by culture change, which sometimes it's quite resistant, and great communication. We always would like to know what is happening. We have that curiosity. It's a human psychological effect. Okay, so if that demand, if that curiosity is there, let's just meet it. Let's just meet that expectations. Let's brief our team. Let's do the Scrum meetings, whatever briefings, whatever we will call them, and come together 15 minutes every day, just briefing what we have reached, what we are working on, what we are supposed to deliver. Okay? It will not take long. 15 minutes, it's more than enough, but that 15 minutes is quite a great business value. And create an ecosystem for knowledge management. Sometimes this is something that we find it quite challenging. We have lots of information, everything run, which is available across the whole organization. Okay, but we don't have something which is actually residing, available to everyone at one common place. Why? Because sometimes we are not that organized as much. We need to organize ourselves. What are the business expectations from the other side? Okay, they need to create business value. If I am investing 1,000 euros, I need to have a rate of return on that 1,000 euros. When I'm going to get that 1,000 euros back, plus, if it's a bank interest rate, which is close to zero nowadays, but when it comes to business, I need some sort of return. When that return is going to come. Something else that we need to appreciate when it comes to IT, innovation, projects, AI, it's not something for life. So the investment needs to be quite accurate, fast. We need what is going to deliver within the next year, the next 2 years. Otherwise, the next 3 years, it may be outdated. We need something else. We need to deliver. We need to invest something totally different. Business, they're expecting solutions. Okay, don't talk to me about the problem, but talk to me about the solution. Okay? I came to your service. It's not because I have extra money that I would like to give you, but because that extra money for me, from a business perspective, is an investment, and I would like to change that investment into a solution which you can provide to my business. We need to be faster to deliver. Why? Because there is a competitive environment out there. Imagine you have two equal companies. Both of them are being supported by different suppliers. One supplier, he is quite fast in delivering. What does it mean? That for that particular customer, he's going to be at a competitive edge over his other suppliers. Okay, so we need to create this competitive edge because it's a requirement from the business. Maximize benefits. Don't get lost. Sometimes we get lost, especially we talked initially about PM squared, PM book, Prince2. They're nice to have, but if we get into them, we get easily lost in a lot of documentation. What is the value of the documentation? Is it valuable, or it's just for the sake because Mr. Prince2 told me that I need all that documentation? Okay. We need to take care of the emotional intelligence skills, being from a project management side, being from a business side. How emotional intelligence is playing. Imagine someone from the business came over with a particular demand, with a particular proposal. He's quite excited, or she is quite excited. Okay? The excitement starts decreasing after some time. So if I am not emotionally attached, I am not able to start delivering immediately with a particular velocity, with a particular speed, what is going to happen? The business is going to get detached because that emotional part, that excitement, it's decreasing by time. I need to keep that excitement at a high level, because if I manage as a project manager to keep up that high level of expectations, that high level of excitement, that I am going to get something new for me, which is going to create value. If we don't manage to keep that level high, most probably we start delaying, we start losing interest from both sides. So it's important here that project managers play an important role when it comes to emotional intelligence, how the others are thinking, how we are going to align everything together. It's important to share more, communicate more. What does it mean, share more? Share more. Today, business asks, give me something, and something which is working. Okay? Don't give me a whole system. I don't need a whole system. I need small parts of it. But actually, those small parts needs to finally form a whole system. If you are giving something small, I am seeing the progress. I am being part of that project. If I buy something totally ready-made, sometimes it's quite complicated. So let's go for an iterative approach. Later on, we're going to call it an iterative approach, where we are delivering something smaller, something which is functional, something which is immediately creating value to the business. What is the way forward? Mainly business is looking for additional revenue, additional profit. So we need, in some way or another, increase delivery, okay? Increase business delivery. We need to deliver something which is working, something which is workable today, and we deliver something later which continues to build on the iterative approach. But at the same time, we need to mitigate risks. Someone from the audience coming from the risk assessment, risk project management, some projects are quite risky. Okay, doing a project in healthcare environment, okay, building some sort of equipment, that's quite risky. But doing something in a different environment may be less risky. Okay, risk, it's not just the risk of failing the project, but reputation, funds. There are different ways how we manage risk. Okay. We need to promote communication. It's quite important when it comes to project management. Deliver incremental. Don't come with a large container, a 40-meter container or whatsoever, full of boxes, but give me one box at a time. Okay. And then when it comes to delivering projects, it's better to deliver small boxes on daily basis rather than coming with a full container, with a full truck full of boxes, suddenly shipping them to me. Why? Because sometimes I can easily panic on what is being delivered to me. Keep the promise and the expectations. And here comes back the emotional intelligence. If I am promising something, be sure that what I am promising is within my ability to get those expectations, to reach those expectations. Why? Because once I start emotionally targeting that expectation for the business, so I am building high expectations. Will I be able to deliver those high expectations that I am promising? It's important. What I promise, I deliver. And be vigilant, objective in what I am delivering. What does it mean? If I promise that by the end of the week, I am going to deliver, let's say, a document, a form, a working algorithm, please deliver it. Okay. Why? Because the first time it may be acceptable, but the second time, third time, it's not going to be acceptable from the business side. Some cases of large projects which failed. When it comes to McDonald's, for example, once they failed 150 million, 1996. Why? Because they tried to promote something which was quite complex. If I go to a McDonald's, Burger King, and I am asking for a burger, it's a burger, something simple, okay? But don't complicate things. How many layers of burgers, cheese, tomatoes, lettuce, onions, whatsoever, because once you start getting complicated, it's fast food, it's not a restaurant, okay? Don't customize a lot for me. The Garden Bridge in London, maybe for those who are from London, they remember this, 2016, 53 million got lost because of bad governance. Actually, this project was never delivered, okay? Denver International Airport, 560 million, not a joke, okay? They were trying to deliver something which was quite sophisticated when it comes to luggage handling, and it was a total failure. I think something similar happened when there was Heathrow Airport, the 5th terminal. Okay, for the first week, most of the luggages got lost. The final failure that I'm going to mention, Berlin Airport. It was promised to be open 2006. Actually, it opened 2020, when on the eve of COVID, okay? As soon as it opened, it had to be closed down because of lack of business. So sometimes there are huge failures, okay? Mainly why? Because we promise something, we are not able to deliver what we are actually promising. AI and data science, going a bit back. AI is driving the need of project management, but we need to change ourselves as well. Being project managers, we cannot get lost into detailed planning, okay? Details over details over details, paper writing, emails, okay? But we need to focus on what we are going to deliver, not just on our tasks. Mainly why? Because what we are going to deliver is going to create the business value to our sponsor, to our team, that is to our organizations who are going to pay for such projects. AI and data science needs to be managed, just like any other software and research development activity, but actually the expectations are most probably riskier and higher. Why? Because AI, it's quite something which is innovative, still developing, okay, still progressing in different ways. There are so much ways how we can benefit from such technologies, that sometimes we can get easily lost and we can quite get into certain risks. Stylianos most probably it's the expert on this. When it comes to AI, data science, how we manage, we need to manage in small chunks. We cannot go to something which is 1 month, 2 months, but every month, every week, we need to deliver something. We need to work hard on this. Okay, so we are still doing the same kind of thing, but we need to change our concept, our culture. Sometimes we talk on changing culture, but we need to change ourselves sometimes. We need to change our mental behavior. When it comes to Tesseract Academy, can Tesseract Academy help us in achieving, getting over these, not, let's call them challenges, okay, not problems, because once we have a problem, that's quite difficult, but challenges, it means that we are accepting something that we can improve over. Yes, the Tesseract Academy provides quite a number of courses. There are experts on board. The experts are quite brilliant experts. Stylianos he's quite lucky to provide such a valuable team. Okay, but we need something important. We need to be available to change. If we are not available to change ourselves, to change our culture, it's going to be much more challenging, or let's say difficult. Okay, but if we are able to accept change, to improve ourselves finally, to be more efficient, more effective in what we are doing, I think you are on the right track, you are on the right platform. In fact, just to give you a flavor, this is something that we are working on. This was just a flavor of what we can offer, but we are also working on, not calling it a framework, but a way how we can practice project management. Okay, it's something which is quite easily tailored for any type of organization. It can be used by having different tools which are already available on the market, on the internet. It can be done even manually. It depends on what you would like to invest upon. But mainly here, what are we talking about? The cycle within the project. Okay, we talked about the business case. Once we have set up the business case, someone is going to give us, please go ahead. That is the mandate. Okay, all these components, most probably it's quite something easy for you. How many times do we have a checklist on what we are delivering, on what we are supposed to deliver? The retrospective for those who are coming from the agile approach, we have the retrospective, the backlog. Okay, from where are these coming? This particular course will start promoting and talking about how actually we can apply these kind of tools, how we can improve our skills. It's not to make new project managers. A project manager, it's not made up from PMBOK, from Prince2 whatsoever. Maturity helps us to be better project managers. Okay, but actually sometimes we need tools, and it's better to have tools to support us in what we are delivering. That's it from my side. Hopefully you find it quite interesting. Please, any questions, something that you would like to chat about, something that you would like to share? We are up to it.
Well, I have a query. Like, as we are discussing about the role change of, the change in the role of project management because of AI. So, what exactly we are expecting? Like, because do you think like people touch is required or not when AI will be completely ruling over the projects?
Okay, if I got rightly the question, you are talking about the change which is required from the management side. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I told you, when I took over this particular team that was quite working in siloed effect, no one asked me to apply any changes. But I felt the need that this particular valuable team required some sort of change in its culture. I never went to the management to support me. Why? Because the management sometimes, especially old aged management, they are quite conservative. Something is working, please don't change it. So what is the different way how we can change the culture? Start from the lowest level. Embrace those people on board and help them to change. Once they are having the benefit of change, they are going to get into it, they are going to get passionate about it. And what happens? Once they are passionate about it, they are delivering in a much more effective and efficient way. So now you can go to the management, but not to ask them to support you into change, but to give them the results. Listen, we had applied this particular experiment on board. We managed to change the culture of this particular team. Look at the results. Look on how efficient we were. Would you like to be much more efficient? Most probably the answer is going to be yes, for sure. Okay, why? Because it's going to be less expensive for them. They can do more work. And that's the only way how you can get support from top level management. But never try to go to the top level management, especially those who are quite conservative, traditional, to help you, to support you in changing the culture of an organization. You will never be successful. Go from the lowest level.
So do you think like there will be a situation in future where PM role will completely be evaded? I mean, completely it will, I mean, there will not be any PM role and AI will rule over.
Quite an interesting question. Will AI take over? When computers started, everyone was afraid that computers will take over. Okay. Will AI take over? I cannot answer you, but most probably I will say no. Like what happened when it came to computers. Computers helped us to take better decisions, to be faster in decision making. What is the role of AI? What is the role of IoT, machine learning? Actually, someone is doing the programming, the implementation, and who is doing what? Us. What are we asking computers to do on our behalf? Please take up decision on my behalf. But that decision, I am building the way how it's going to be done. Why? Because I am building the algorithm, no one else. The algorithm, it's coming from someone. So that someone needs still to be there. What is happening? We are getting information faster. We don't need the time to compute it because someone else, the computer, the AI, is doing that computation on our behalf. If there is an alarm, something that needs to be triggered fast, this is going to be done on our behalf by the computer, by the AI, the intelligence, the program, the project that we have. But finally, it depends on how we apply this kind of thing. It's us who are going to decide what. Just to give you a small example on an experiment which is being currently a proof of concept which is being run in Paris. In Paris, this is a particular company which is trying to capture fraudulent transactions through credit cards. And that is being done by monitoring transactions through credit cards in special touristic areas where most of the fraudulent transactions can come up. Actually, everything is working on its own. There is a transaction which is highlighted to be fraudulent, automatically it notifies the bank, the account is blocked, and that's it. But someone needs to control these parameters, this configuration, okay? if I need to change that configuration, who's going to change it? I know the algorithm, so someone who knows the algorithm needs to change accordingly. Hope I answered the question. If someone else, for example, Stylianos would like to say something on this, he's the expert for sure.
No, I think you covered pretty much everything. You were pretty much on time, so I don't think I have anything to add right now. But that being said, I'd like to refer everyone back to our website and to what Joseph said, the fact that we're also, I mean, we have quite a few courses. Apologies. First of working from home, yeah. Okay, that's a bit funny. Including an upcoming course on project management and AI. So make sure to check it out.
We apologize for the noise, but currently some work is being conducted at Stylianos' office, and there is no option.
Yeah, we try to do what we can with what we can do. But anyway, are there any other questions? Feel free to write in the chat. Okay, if there are no more questions, then round of applause. I'm using the applause emoji. Thank you, Joseph.
Thanks for the opportunity. Hope you liked it.
Thanks, everyone. Make sure to visit our website. There will be more events coming up in the next few months. Also, a course on what we discussed today, project management and AI. And we'll also be sharing the video of this presentation with everyone who registered. And also, don't hesitate to send us ideas with other topics that you'd like us to cover, whether it's around general AI, whether it's about project management, applications of data science. We're here. So thanks, everyone, and have a good rest of the day or rest of your evening. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.